How's it going, guys? And welcome to Gabe's Reef. Today is just basically almost a 10-month review. I think it's a little over 9. I just want to show you everything that's going on, pros, cons, and how everybody's doing. So, obviously we know the mushroom was relatively large, but he's gotten much bigger. The Lobo is doing kind of good. I kind of turned him a little bit. I need to turn him back around. The leather tree is doing good. The other leather is doing pretty good. This one didn't do good for a while just because an enemy was on him. But there's Peabody. He's always like trying to get my attention. This anemone's doing great. He's relatively large right now. He's not really. He's kind of puffed up like around the bottom, but usually when the top's puffed up, he's really big. And then now I only have 2 hermit crabs. I think the dominant female or male killed the other one or whatever, and now it's just 2, a male, a boy, and a girl. They always hang out together. They get along just fine. And then these are torch squirrels that I got from a shop. The tips of these were so small I didn't even know it was a torch squirrel. I didn't know what kind of squirrel it was. And now, as you can see, they're very long and beautiful. They look really good. They're still growing. This is one of the free corals, zoanthians, that I got. I think like a basic green or something like that, greenish brown or whatever you want to call it. They're doing fine. I only originally had 1 head. Now there's like 10 or something like that. What else? That looks really pretty from underneath. Is that pump on? Okay. And then my watermelons, this plug was very, very small, barely covered the plug. Now it overgrew the plug and it's onto the rocks, so that's great. I only had, I think, like 1 of those mushrooms, maybe 2. Now there's like 4 or 5 heads. The turbo snails are doing good. I think I have 1, 2. I think I have 3 of those, 3 or 4 of those, somewhere around here. And then there's my smaller hermit. The bigger one is obviously over here. That's their kind of spot where they hang out at all the time. And then there's one of my other turbo snails kind of hiding right there. My bandit shrimp's doing good. He's molted several times. He lost one of his arms during one of his molts, but of course he grew it back. What else? That's pretty much. Oh, and then I have green star polyps right there. You kind of see it. Grew a little bit of probably like cyanobacteria, some kind of growth, green growth on it. I've been slowly treating. I don't want to put too much in and kill, my invertebrates and do damage to stuff, but I'm slowly treating. It's still growing. You can see it's underneath there. It's all the way onto this rock now, all the way on this backside, all the way over to that rock. So it's grown tremendously. The candies have so many heads I can't even count anymore. It's crazy. And there is I don't know if you can see it, but there is a crab that lives in there. A emerald crab. He loves the candies. That's where he lives at. I'll make sure to, get him some shrimp. And one of the things I'm having an issue with, obviously with the green cyanobacteria kind of strain right there, from having new fish. So let's talk about the Clownfish Holdfast. The clownfish are doing great. The female is ginormous, really big and healthy. There's the female right there. She is relatively large. Not being that old, I got her as a juvenile about 9 months ago or so, and there is my male, and he's a decent size too. Very beautiful colors, just your standard clownfish, no design or nothing like that. There's a kind of anemone right there, like a flower one, I guess, or something like that. He seems to be not really bothering the Lobo at all, really, at least what I can tell. And then the Damsel has gotten a little bit bigger, but he absolutely loves the rock work. He literally sleeps and lives in this cave work right here, because it's really intricate, because this rock's pretty much hollow. There's caves everywhere, and he pretty much spends most of the time in the cave work. You hardly see him. Only when we're feeding, he's been coming out. He hasn't been as shy as he usually used to be. He used to never come out of the rock work. Now when I feed, he actually comes out. So another one of the things why I have kind of some growth at the bottom, I'd say this is almost mid-cycle. My main thing, honestly, why I don't have to test all the time, or hardly ever test anymore, honestly, the water, is I got a routine, and I always tested it for several months doing this routine, and I noticed that I can pretty much know, how good everything is and how it works. So what happens is I would test it during that 9 days max period of changing the water. I would know what would go down, what would change, and really what would not. The only thing that my tank loses is calcium. So I do calcium midway in a week or so. I do about 3 to 4 milligrams of calcium, milliliters, and that's it. That's all I do. Everything else, the alkalinity stays the same. The nitrates stay low enough to where it doesn't bother anything. At the end of a cycle, they never got more than I think 15, 20 max is the worst I've seen it. And that's amazing considering how much nutrition's in this tank. So, of course, I feed the anemone shrimp. He really catches pretty much everything I have, that I put by him. He catches it, and really nothing escapes. But whenever I feed, every once in a while, I'll give the emerald a little bit, because I'm not sure how good his food supply is where he's at. A little bit for the hermits every once in a while, I'm sure they can find it anyways, but I make sure they eat. Same with the bandit. I don't want the bandit hungry going after my fish. I mean, he's probably not going to catch them, but, I don't want him going after them. That looks so weird. He's, changing his shape and how he's fanning out. But, so, the shrimp will have a little bit of growth at the bottom, algae, which is good because my slugs need food because I've really been scraping the glass. This is a little dirty. It's been a few days of growth on it. I really scraped the glass so I don't have too much defined and suck. So they've been sticking, honestly, to the rocks and the bottom gravel, sand, I mean. So that's what's been feeding them. And then that shrimp load really spawned a lot of aptasia. A lot. That is one of my biggest battles. I had one or two from my mushroom rocks that I got from a pet store, and it has spread since. I've battled some, killed some, and all it takes is one to reproduce, and sure enough, they've reproduced. They've kind of taken over certain sides of the rocks. What I'm actually going to try to do today is use Aptasiax, not Joe's Juice. Aptasiax is a little thicker, stronger. I like the applying syringe they have with the long stem. You can reach in there and kind of direct feed. The key is to get it to eat it, not just put a bunch over it. I've learned that. Plus, you don't want a bunch in a tank. Another creature can eat it or it can get on something else and it can hurt it. I don't know about kill it, but it can hurt other corals and obviously our enemy. So, what I'm going to do is just kind of spot, feed them, hopefully give them a little bit to each one, and they eat. There's all kinds of growth underneath there. I don't know what the yellow is that's growing. I don't know what that is. I know there's a lot of those little worm things that stick out. There's a couple of those one worms that go around eating, leftovers and garbage and whatever else. Stuff like that. But mainly I want to treat the aptasia is what I'm worried about. Everything else, not so much. I do have starfish. I should have located these a little bit beforehand, so I'll spend the time looking for them. I did end up growing some starfish. Some are good, some are okay, but some creatures will eat them, some won't. It just depends on the scenario. But here is one. I do have a much bigger one somewhere around here. I have, I think, 3 really distinctive big ones. Here's one of the smaller ones right there. You could clearly see him right there on the rock. Sorry, not a very good angle there. There's a couple other bigger ones. So let's look around a little bit more. A lot of growth, crustaceans on the back wall. I don't scrape the back wall, honestly. I want growth and algae and stuff to grow back there. That way, the snails have somewhere they could always eat off of. I just mainly scrape this. Like I said, I can't get all the corners. I don't want to get too close to that rubber. Scrape it, damage the seal. These corners are a little bit of pain in the butt. Try to brush them the best I can, but it's not going to be perfect. Obviously, there's a lot towards the bottom around it, and that's where they mainly eat at and hang out at anyway, so that's great. They have a food supply there. As far as filtration goes, honestly, there's a couple key things you have to pay attention to that I made the mistake and did not. So down here in chamber number 1, there's a black foam kind of see it, black foam separating chamber 2 and 3. I had this for several months and never took that out, never washed it. Never thought I had to. I thought all the filtration, you know, in chamber 2, I just had to wash that and that's it. Well, apparently that one right there got super gross. It made my water super gross, and it killed a couple creatures. I think one of my emerald crab, I had an emerald crab, I think he died because of that poor water quality. So that was unfortunate that he died. And then the one anemone, bubble tip anemone, never did good in this tank. I tried physically moving him to different spots to get better flow, more lighting, and he just always came to the bottom, would hide like in a crevice of a cave, would not get enough light, enough circulation, I guess, and he ended up dying. And then one suicidal turbo snail that died by killing himself, and then obviously my big dominant what do you call it, emerald crab killed the other medium-sized one. So now there's one big dominant, I don't know if that's the male or female, and then another one. I've seen them on top of each other and try to kill each other. They hang out. I don't know if they're trying to mate or just they're partnered or what it is, but they hang out, no issues between them two. What else? I'm just kind of like skimming through and trying to show you guys everything. The temperature, I keep mine 79 to 80 year round. The water level, I keep it up kind of high. And then going back to the filtration, make sure you rinse out that one. And then the middle one, I used to have ceramic, like some kind of ceramic bio things where bacteria growing them. I don't need them. I have so much large natural filtration that I don't need those ceramic balls in there. So I went ahead and removed them. Now I have a Purichem to remove the phosphates and chemicals and toxins, and you know, if they have chemical warfare and corals or anything like that, it does help remove that. I have a simple blue filter pad, so I put that, the Purichem on top of that, and then a black really coarse filter, like that's in a third chamber that separates the third and the second one. I put one of those in the very bottom shelf, the Purichem, and then at the top, obviously your cartridge filters. You get 2 for $10, so honestly you can't go wrong. You just change that filtration. It does have carbon in it and a really good cleaning floss. So and then obviously your protein skimmer, it's set pretty good. It doesn't vary too much. It just bubbles when it gets, you know, a lot of protein. It'll bubble up, get in the tank, dump it out. The 100-watt heater is down in there in the very first chamber. It works well. It does not fluctuate once you set it right. I don't so much go off the temperature. I use the temperature, set on it, and then put it in there and see the location and how it does circulating. So what I'm gonna do is kind of adjust it and then go from there, the 100-watt thing, and then I've got it dialed in to where it stays right at 79, 80 max, which is perfect. You don't want a big temperature swing. And then as far as my evaporation isn't too terrible, but I do like kind of keep a idea where it's at right now when I test it to the right salinity or whatever. I keep mine usually about 33, between 32 and 34. I try not to let it swing too much. Obviously the gravity, I think like 1.02425-ish, something like that, between 1.024 and like 2.6. You're supposed to technically keep it around 2.6 just because of the corals, but I don't like it too high, you know, not to hopefully affect the fish too much. I know the damsel and the clownfish are really hardy. I don't know as much about the clownfish or a horned boxfish, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, he has one of the biggest personalities. He will follow you because he thinks you have food. He's always looking for food. He will like look at you and just swim around. He has a really amazing personality. Same with the clownfish. When I think it's feeding time, they will literally hunt you down. Honestly, the clownfish were a little sad when the anemone died. And now they seem to be hosting a mushroom. I don't know if that's good or bad. If it's hurting the mushroom, it doesn't seem like it is. Or if it's, you know, the mushroom can sting him. I don't know much about it. But lately, they take turns laying in that little divot of the mushroom right there. And sometimes they'll swim underneath it, sleep underneath it, or they'll sleep on top of it. So it gives them like a little home. Sometimes you'll see that one clownfish sleep in that corner. I thought about buying a shelf somewhere in this vicinity right here, putting a little shelf with, you know, the little suction cups, putting a little shelf right there, a little bit of gravel, making it like a little, or a clam or something. Some of them like old clams that died or whatever, just a shell. Sometimes they like to sleep in clams. I don't know about live ones, but I don't know, just every clownfish is different, personalities are different, the way they act, you know, how well they bonded, how their partnership is and everything. So there's a lot, you know, initially the clownfish just kept swimming around the top really aggressively. I got them an enemy, they kind of calmed down. Then there was a little territorial dispute between the damsel and the clownfish. Now they can all swim together. Soon as, you know, now that they're kind of used to him and see that he's not aggressive, the boxfish, they're just kind of, you know, whatever, and they all swim together. They can be right by each other and eat and not try to chase each other. They're just really used to each other now. In the beginning, it can be a little frustrating watching them kind of chase each other and not be around each other, but now, honestly, seeing that they're really kind of got their areas locked in, you know, the damsel having the cave work in the center, them having this little corner, and then the boxfish mainly staying towards the top, and then when he eats, you know, he obviously eats from the bottom anywhere, and he's not really afraid of anything, so that's good. The bandit, you know, I thought being the boxfish being a little slower, I thought the bandit shrimp would try to get him. He made one attempt, like, not like chasing him down, but like kind of lunged at him. The boxfish didn't move too much. He kind of moved a little bit, and then the second time they were both at the bottom. The boxfish was collecting shrimp off the bottom. He was coming, and the boxfish kind of leaned forward and kind of swam towards him, and then the bandit shrimp backed up. So, you know, I guess those little horns are pretty cool. It is really neat when you open this up, and he sees you, and you'll see him swimming to the top, and he'll stick his little horns out of the water. I think that's one of the coolest things. I still have the pump angled up, so it kind of causes waves and ripples in the water to help with the gas exchange. The circulation pump, honestly, if I go back, I'd buy 2 small ones instead of one like 500. It says it's 500, it's more like a 3. High 2s, maybe a 3. It says 500, but I don't believe that. I would honestly buy 2 good, quiet 200s and make sure that this one kind of mainly takes care of the top, not so much of the bottom. You get like dead zones where stuff settles at in certain corners. I'd honestly get 2 pumps, point them in the same direction, and just create a nice circle, you know, cycle it this way, come around the front, and then go to the intakes. I'd like to have one at the top, one at the bottom, kind of both covering the area around. You know, later on I might do that. I've cleaned the pump, I think, 1 time because it made kind of noise. You got some stuff in there. Other than that, if you got good filtration, that much stuff doesn't really get to it. The circulation thing, you need to clean it. Mine's a little crusty, I'm not gonna lie. I do need to take that out and clean it, but as long as it doesn't make a weird noise, it doesn't bother me too much. What else? The lighting is good. I run the blues and the whites during the day, so I do max, you know, starting in the morning. It starts out with the blues in the morning, like the sunrise, and then the whites kind of come in like a sunrise, and then during, you know, prime day, both are on just to get enough light for the anemone and all the other corals, and then the intensity, you know, cranks down, and then the blues kind of take over again and slowly shut off at night. You know, I think I only run light from 6 in the morning till like 7 at night, so it's a little kind of high. Well, about, I mean, not high intensity the whole time, obviously, but like, you know, beginning high intensity and then wind down. Honestly, I just really wanted a lot of light because my enemies, you know, I know that one needed it, and he does as well, and it's just a shame that one didn't do good. What else? No leaks with BioCube. They make really nice tanks. No leaks, nothing like that. You get plenty of room in the bottom. This is just kind of a, you know, 9-month, 10-month review. It's great to get a switch like this where you can switch off individual channels. I think that's incredible. The skimmer works well. The chemicals, like I said, I don't test that often anymore just because, you know, for 7 months, 6 months, I continuously change the water once between 7 and 9 to 10 months. I mean, between 7 and 9 days continuously. There is the damsel. But you'll see he'll go right back into his cave and you won't see him again. He's a decent size. They love the mushroom. Like, they love the mushroom. It's so cute. There's the damsel out. He heard these doors open. I guarantee he thought he was going to eat food. That's why he came out. He loves the cave work. But honestly, just a good gravel vacuum, a scraper, a softer thing to clean the glass. Gravel vacuum, it changed the water. Make sure the water is at least 70-something degrees. The right amount of salt. Obviously checked it with some refractometer or whatever. And that's pretty much it. I do have the chemicals to dose whatever needs in case it does fluctuate or something happens. But honestly, besides me adding the calcium, I don't need to add really anything else. I cut back on the coral roids because I didn't want the corals getting crazy big and just growing crazy. I kind of slowed it down on that, honestly. Obviously phytoplankton, I do that as well. I used to do it every other day because I wanted tiger pods and other things to grow. But since that's no longer... I'm intentionally trying to grow that for my what do you call them, dragonets and stuff like that, and gobies, whatever you want to call them. Since I'm not doing those since I don't have those anymore, then that's not an issue of trying to do that. So I just do that maybe every like 3 or 4 days, just to kind of keep, you know, the corals fed and nutritious, and obviously there's starfish and other creatures in there that benefit, slugs, other things that may eat them. So snails, I mean. So yeah. What else? I did keep a book detailed, you know, what I fed when in the beginning, just to make sure I stayed on schedule. Now I'm got it all down, so I don't really use that anymore. I have a little quarantine thing, obviously iodine for the infrared rays, and for dipping, I honestly probably wouldn't dip in iodine. I'd probably use like Revive or something, honestly. Aptasiax, very important. Mainly I just feed the pellets. The clownfish love the pellets, so do the invertebrates, and then the shrimp, because I have to, for Peabody. That's the only thing he eats, honestly, is the shrimp. So it sucks I have to put shrimp in there every single day. Some people say, oh, feed him every other. Honestly, I don't put that crazy amount, so I just feed him, you know, a little bit each day, and he's fine. He seems to be doing really, really well. He seems to be happy. Obviously, the other fish will eat a little bit, and the lobo will eat some of it. So it's really cool to see him eat shrimp, and obviously, to me, it's cool how when the water's off and everything, you see him physically moving himself, taking his tentacles and then putting them back in his mouth and eating. It's really, really cool. Like I said, I haven't tested magnesium, alkalinity, any of that stuff, honestly. I remember last time I did one of those tests. I just put a little, I'm almost out of calcium, getting low. I just put, like I said, 3 to 4 milligrams of calcium about midweek, and that's really it. That keeps it up there, close enough to where it's not an issue. This is for the cyanobacteria, and obviously it treats, you know, body fungus, gill disease, Popeye, all that stuff. So, but you can see it's for saltwater, and just different instructions you don't use, especially for my tank being 32 gallons. One packet treats like 50 or something like that, so I have to cut it in half. Is what I roughly do. Cut the dose amount in half to make sure I don't kill anybody or hurt anything, make it too strong. It says wait 2 days, see if it goes away, and then dose again. I don't like doing that. I'll wait a whole nother week after I change the water because I don't want too much of them chemicals in there. Basically what I do is just treat it, wait a week, treat it again. I know it's kind of, that's probably why I haven't got rid of it right away, honestly, but I'm getting there. You know, it's slowly going back. I do suck it up with the gravel vac as much as you can. That is the key. Get as much of that as you can first and then treat the water. That way it can be a little bit more concentrated on the actual aptasia that is in there. Not aptasia, but actual bacteria and other things that are in there. Treat those. What else? I'm just trying to do a basic, complete overview. I did go on vacation. I use a automatic fish dispenser. It did work. You just hold this flap up, connect it, make sure, test it on something, make sure it routinely comes out like it's supposed to, the right amount. This has not failed, the timer or whatever, the setup, it works perfectly. The pump still works, no leaks. The chambers are nice. Everything I bought, nothing has broke. So, well, that's pretty much covering everything. The heat gun, I used it for my nitro to tune it, but it does work really well for testing water. The refractometer is a must, especially buy the Reef crystals, not just the regular one. If you have corals, it really makes a difference for calcium and minerals and other things you need. That's pretty much it. I haven't done a flake in like forever. It wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe give them a little bit every once in a while randomly. You know, like an old toothbrush to brush that. Something long. I had one, but it broke. It used to hang on the side of my tank. Something long that you can reach down and then you squeeze it and it clamps. Move shells, move a creature, scared creature that's trying to attack another one, or pick up stuff or move something. It's just amazing for, honestly. I think it all looks great. You know, that little thing is nice to scrub the tank and without having to use the major scraper. Look, there's his horn sticking out of the water. See him? He looks incredible. I love that. He's so cute. So this video went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I just kind of wanted to do an overview on everything. The stand's still solid. Everything's still nice. You know, there's all the extra shells in case they get bigger. Stuff like that. You know, if you have certain creatures, just prepare to have everything you need for them. Honestly, filtration works okay. Like I said, main thing was cleaning that one filter that's in between the chamber 2 and 3. That's very important. That probably cost me the life of my emerald crab. I was super bummed out about that. Plus, the anemones at the time were not happy at all. They were always closed up. So, honestly, pay attention. Make sure you clean all your filtration. And that's pretty much it. Oh, look at him. He's so cute. So, I think that's going to do it. But that's the full review. 10-month review for the tank. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.